What's up guys, Chris here from Mainly Mesh, taking you through our second review of the Adidas current heads out on the market, which is the EQT Bawse head. Definitely in the running for coolest head name on the market. I'm a Bawse. I got the Bawse head. I'm a Bawse. Yeah. Just like with the Enrage, the Bawse... how do you just throw that into a sentence? The Bawse. Just like the Enrage head, the Bawse has an interesting sidewall profile, a very focused kind of mid-high offset that really allows that ball to sit right in place, but still has that scoop and the lie of the head coming up pretty close to the center axis. It throws pretty well. It definitely doesn't throw as much into the ground as I thought it would. It throws very cleanly and was able to hit my target pretty well, but it's a very distinct mid-pocket focused head. Once again with the Bawse, Adidas put a very bulked up throat. As you can see, there's a lot of plastic here. That screw sits very low on the shaft, which gives it a lot of rigidity down in that throat section. Something that I think is really awesome. I think a lot of companies have come in and had pretty thin throat sections that have ended up breaking. So it's nice to see that they really focused on just eliminating any possibility of breakage down in that throat area. Overall, the Bawse is a much stiffer head than the Enrage is, so it definitely doesn't have as much play side to side, although it is still a little bit flexible, and especially on the scoop, there's not as much flexibility, which is something I really liked. The scoop on this head was a lot easier to use than the Enrage. As you can see here, the ball went very smoothly into the pocket, really nice transfer from the grass into the mesh, and just something that made ground balls pretty straightforward and pretty easy. Something I really like and really look for when I'm buying a new head. As far as the sidewall struts go, Adidas had a really nice placement here, which allowed for a very stiff head when trying to compress it vertically. I still think they probably could have added a little bit more plastic to the top and bottom rail in terms of widening out those triangles, because it does have a little bit play side to side, like I said, but in terms of the compression effect, it's something that I think is going to stay pretty much true to shape through the lifetime of the head, which is something I also really look for when I'm buying a new head. I think the weirdest thing for me about the Bawse is something that I also saw in the Enrage. It's just the fact that the lie of this head is closer, if not above, that center axis of the shaft. Having that whole scoop pushed up a little bit almost gives it that kind of non-offset feel. I'm thinking back to the original Warrior Cobra that almost slanted forward, or have like a, having a crankshaft head on a non-crankshaft shaft. It's just an interesting feel and something that isn't quite my favorite. But overall, I think that, now that Miles Jones is signed with the Adidas group, I think this is a head that he would really like. It's definitely my favorite offensive head in their line. Strings up a little bit more easily than the Enrage, has a nicer scoop. Pretty solid head overall, probably a 6 or 7. I wouldn't give it too high of marks, but it's definitely my favorite out of their line. The other important thing to note with the Bawse is it does have a very interesting kind of back scoop hole setup compared to the Enrage and the other heads. This is a little bit more reminiscent of early Gate heads, early Reebok heads. Just an interesting touch and should allow you a lot of creativity when stringing the top string of this head. Something that I like seeing. The stringing holes on both of these heads, on really all of these heads, were really straightforward, really easy to string, but it was interesting seeing such a different scoop on the Bawse than they had on the Enrage. Overall, like I said, if you want to pick up an Adidas head, this is definitely the one I would go with as an offensive player. I would take this over the Enrage any day. If you want to snag one, head on down to our friends at Universal Lacrosse in the link down below. That's pretty much it. Give it, like I said, probably a 7 out of 10. Thanks again to Adidas for sending these over to us. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. If you want to see my first review on the Enrage, click right here. If you want to see my next review on the Demonic head, click right here. That's pretty much it. Subscribe. Thanks so much. I'll catch you guys next time.